Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to solve some of the problems that pop up when you have a game that has containers in it. When you make an object of a container, you can put things in it, but the game has no sense of how big that container is and what might logically fit in it. So you could have a matchbox, make it a container, and then put an elephant in the matchbox, and then put another elephant in the matchbox. So there's so obviously you don't want that. You don't want something to be able to put something really big into something really small. Or maybe you've got a scenario like I'll do here where we've got a coin and a piggy bank, right? So we're supposed to put the coin in the piggy bank, and only the coin can go in the piggy bank. So what I'm going to show you here is like ways to kind of limit what can go in the container based on size, and then also how to restrict that to a particular item. So maybe only one thing can go in a particular container. So let's pop over to Lantern and take a look at this. So I have a scenario here. And actually, I think I have to make my piggy bank an open container. Piggy bank might not be a good example here. And we'll play around. So I've got a container here. I've got a jar. The jar is marked as an open container, and I've got an elephant. An elephant, notice the mass of the elephant is 100. I have a thimble. The mass of the thimble is 1. I have a rock. The mass of the rock is 2. The pebble has a mass of 0. The pen has a mass of 0. And the coin has a mass of 0. So what I've done here is I've given things mass. And I'm going to use that mass to limit or to check the size of something before I put it in a container. So let's handle the case where we want to restrict what goes into a container based on size. So we want to say basically only small things can go in a container. So let's look at, let's go to verb checks here. And what I'm going to do is make a check. And I'll say like check, small thing or something. And I'm going to click add. So now I've made a new check that I can put on a verb. And I'm going to put this on the verb put. So anytime I try to put something in something else, I can say, hey, what am I trying to, what's the target object here? What's the target container, and how big is the thing that I'm trying to put in that? So first, let's now that I've made my check, what I'm going to do is find the verb put here in the list on the left. There's put place. And I'm going to find my new check here in the list, check small thing, and I'm going to click add. So now in my list of checks on the verb to put, I'm going to what check is also going to get run is this check small thing code. Now what I'll do here in the code window on the right is I'm going to right click, and I've got some stubs here, and here's one, check putting, limit contents by size. So let me select that, and I get a code stub here. So what I'm going to do here is say if noun 2 is the jar. So I'm trying to put something in the jar. I'm going to change I'm going to test to see if the second noun in that sentence, like put coin in the jar. So the jar is the second noun. And then I'm going to check to see, is the mass of the first noun greater than 1 here in this example. So I'm trying to put the coin in the jar. So noun 1 is the coin. Put coin in jar. So coin's the first noun in that sentence. I'm going to say if the mass of that thing is greater than 1, then print that won't fit. So what this is doing is it's limiting, or it's going to stop if the mass of the thing I'm trying to put in the jar is greater than 1. So if the mass is 0 or the mass is 1, that's fine, right? Then this doesn't, this code will not get run. So we're going to say, okay, are we trying to put something in the jar? Okay. Is the mass of the thing that we're trying to put in the jar greater than 1? If it is, then print that won't fit and stop. Don't continue with the action of putting that thing in the jar. So let's test that out. If I go back to my objects here, the coin was 0, the pen was 0, the pebble was 0. Okay, so the rock I should not be able to put the rock in the jar. Let's give the piggy bank some mass too. I'll make it 3. The elephant has a mass of 100. The thimble has a mass of 1. So the thimble should be able to fit in the jar. The pebble and the pen should be able to fit in the jar, but nothing else. So let's test that out. So now if I run this, okay, there's a piggy bank here. And let me check my inventory. So the elephant, put elephant in jar. That won't fit. Why doesn't it fit? Because the mass is greater than 1. Put rock in jar. That won't fit because I think the rock had a mass of 2. Put pebble in jar. Done. Okay. Look in jar. The jar contains a pebble. All right. What else am I carrying? The coin. Put the coin in the jar. Done. So you can see now anytime I try to put something in the jar, it's going to run that check. And it's going to check to see, is the mass of the thing I'm trying to put in the jar greater than 1? If it is, it prints, it won't fit, and it stops the action, or it stops the sentence from any sort of further processing. So that's a way of limiting this, or sort of constraining what you can put into a container based on its size. So that's that can be useful. Okay, let's look at another situation here. This is the case where I want to put something in something else or on something else, but I want to restrict what that is. Like there's only one thing you can put on, like in this case, we'll have a king and a crown, and you can put the crown on the king, but you don't want to be able to put anything else on the king. Maybe that would be disrespectful, or maybe you should do that and the king would behead you or something. So let's look at how can we restrict or how can we limit what goes in or on a container or supporter to a single object. Let's see how that would work. So in this example, I've got a crown. I've made the crown portable, and let me put it in my inventory. And there's a king. I've made an object called king. And then let's put the king in the room with the player. And then if we want to put things on the king, we have to make the king a supporter. So I'm going to check the box to make the king a supporter. Now, let's go back to verb checks here. And I'll make another check. I'm going to say check. I'll make a check here called check put crown or something. It's as good a name as anything else. And then I will click add check function. There we go. I'll click the button. And now I'll do the same thing I did before. What I'm going to do is delete that. I'll put in a code snippet. Check putting limit to a single item. Okay. So here's our code snippet. We're going to check to see if noun 2 is the king, right? That's the target. So put the crown on the king, right? So the king is the second noun. And what are we trying to put on the king? The crown, right? So let's change this thing to the crown, print, and then let's change the text to that would be silly or something like that, or that would look ridiculous, or that would be disrespectful. So we'll say, so anytime we try to put something, we're going to run this check and we're going to say, are we trying to put something on the king? Okay, hang on. If it's not the crown, because the exclamation point equals means not equal. If the noun 1 is not the crown, then print that would be silly and stop. Otherwise, this action will continue to be carried out and we will put the crown on the king. So now all we have to do is that last step of we want to find the verb, put place, there we go. And let's add that check put crown on that verb. So now when we run the verb put, we're going to do all these checks and we'll do this check put crown. And then we'll check to see, okay, hang on, are we trying to put something on the king? If it's not the crown, print that would be silly. All right, so let's save this and run it. Launch player. There we go. What am I? Where's the king? Oh, the king is in my inventory. That's awesome. Let's drop the king. Okay. Sorry, king. All right, there's a king here. Put coin on king. That would be silly. Put crown on king. Done. Look. Okay. There's a king here. On the king is a crown. So now what we've done is we've put a check on put, on the verb put, to say, hang on, are we trying to put something on the king? If it's not the crown, print. That'd be silly. So, and there are other possible things here. There's other things we could do. We could limit what goes in a container based on, we could give the container a volume or something. We could count up the number of things in the container. So maybe the container can only contain 10 things. That's probably a separate video. But there we go. That's how to add a check onto a verb, and then also how to limit what we can put in containers, or kind of better manage what goes into containers so people can't put anything in anything else. And if you don't have these stubs here, put limit to a single item or limit contents by size, you need to get a newer version of Lantern, and then you will have that. So there you go. That's some just more tricks to make your game world a little more internally consistent, and you'll maybe avoid some of the bugs that have previously popped up in my games. But now we've got a way to fix that. So there you go. Hope you find that useful.